Hey everybody! Welcome to Big Valley Living. Tonight we're going to make chili, one of our favorites. We make a 3-bean chili using some ground beef and some simple pantry ingredients that you're sure to have around. So we're going to get the camera all set up and show you how we do it. Thanks a lot for coming by. You're going to love this recipe. And here we are, ready to start this chili. So this is actually the first time we've used this organic ground beef from Costco. So we're going to give it a shot. Typically we'll just get some fresh ground beef from Whole Foods because it's pretty close to our house. They usually have a pretty good deal. So I have my stove on. I have an electric stove and I have it on about medium to medium high. I have it on 6, if that tells you anything. And I just turned it on before we put the hamburger in so that the hamburger won't stick to the pan. It'll start releasing pretty quickly. So I'm going to let that brown for just a second, and I'm going to go wash my hands off real fast. Okay, so we're going to start breaking it up. It's been on for a couple seconds here while I went and washed my hands. Loving these utensils. I'll have a link to Truly Tailor Designs for you at the bottom. She's on Etsy and she is awesome. Okay, so you can see it's already starting to cook up a little bit. Now in a few minutes we're going to add some onion. But I'm going to go ahead and throw the chili powder in. This is going to be approximately 2 tablespoons. I am not one to measure my spices. This is basically my version of our family recipe of chili. Yeah, it might have been 2.5 tablespoons. My dad used to make this, and every potluck or something, wherever he worked for the fire department for a while out at the Sacramento Metro Airport, and he'd always take it. And this is cumin. I'm sorry, I just put a little garlic salt in. And you know what? I'm not messing with this little dippy dot thing. We are going to use about an equal amount of cumin in the burger meat as we do the chili. It just gives it a really nice deep flavor. Anyway, so Dad would make these huge crock pots of chili when I was in high school. I was in the band, and at Christmas time we volunteered at a Christmas tree land at the state fairgrounds. And there would be crafters there. And one in particular was just the sweetest lady. And she has a little farm stand now here in California called the Farmer's Wife. And her name was Rosemary, and she was just the sweetest gal. And she would beg my dad to bring chili over, and he'd take cups and everything. And he got kind of famous over there at Bob's Christmas Tree Land in the early 80s. It was kind of funny. So it kept all of us kids warm too when we were out there hauling trees from the building out to people's cars in the cold December weather. So it's starting to heat up a little bit here. And once the meat just sort of lets go of the pan, that's when I'm going to add the onions, because we want them to soften up a little bit, just kind of impart their flavor into the chili. And I do hope that if you've watched our other cooking shows, we've had comments about not being able to see in the pot and see what it looks like as it's cooking. So if you would do me a favor, please go ahead and make a comment below, or you can go onto our Facebook page. We'd love to have you join us there. And let us know if this works better for you, especially if you're a new cook and you're just not quite sure what you should be looking for. It's starting to sizzle here. So Dad used to just use kidney beans in his chili, and he did use chili powder, cumin, and garlic salt. And then, as I got older, I liked a little more spice, so I started putting in mild diced green chilies from Ortega. And sometimes we throw in a little bit of pickled jalapeno or fresh jalapeno, but that kind of takes away from the overall depth of flavor to me. It kind of overpowers it. So I don't do that anymore. Just the mild green chilies. We are just about ready to put this in here. Now I also want to tell you that I don't want you to trip on stuff like, oh, I don't like black beans, I don't like kidney beans. You don't have to use all of the beans I'm using. If you don't like a lot of beans, you don't even need to use as many beans as I'm using. JJ and I really enjoy having a lot of beans in here. Just good. And he is one who likes to have his over macaroni or noodles, and I am a fan of rice. But it's also really good with just some cheese and fresh red diced onion on it, and dip some chips in it, almost like you're having nachos, you know. So you can put it on a baked potato if you want. This chili is really quite delicious, and you can see how quickly the meat is cooking up. It's quite delicious in a lot of different ways. It also freezes nicely. I've mentioned super cubes before in the past. I usually have enough left over where we might have like chili dogs one night, and then I'll freeze the rest, which is usually about 4 cups with this particular recipe, and then we can just pop them in the microwave for lunch or something like that. So the meat, to me, I'm looking at it, and it's well on its way to browning. Okay, I just didn't want to put the onions in too soon. It's also, again, I told you this is the first time that I've used this meat. It looks really lean. Not seeing a gazillion ounces of fat in there, so that's pretty cool. Okay, the spices look right to me. Your meat should have that kind of dark burgundy color. Now I'm going to go ahead. That was 1 onion that I used, and I also want to mention that typically in our house we will cook with yellow onions. They're versatile. They're just sweet enough to give you some flavor, but you still get that onion flavor through it. And I'm just going to mix it around together. The onions do not have to be completely soft when we start adding our tomato products and beans and peppers. Chilies, pardon me, not peppers. Okay. If your meat's a little too dry, or if you're cooking it a little slower, which you don't need to do, but if you do, you can always add just a little bit of water in there, and it helps it break up, helps some of the flavors come into it a little bit better as well. I'm really crazy about spices, everybody, so we're going to throw just a little bit more chili powder in here, and then I'm not going to have to spice it too much once the other ingredients go in. Break that up. And a little bit more cumin, and I think we're going to call it good. We go through a lot of cumin, and it's not even summertime. You just wait. So we're still sizzling, and it is smelling pretty good in the house. JJ, how's it smelling?
Good. Smells pretty good.
My cameraman.
Got a good start.
Got a good start. There we go. Okay, that's looking pretty good. I'm really. We don't need to turn it up at all, and because I've broken it up, it just cooked very quickly. That hamburger was obviously thawed in the refrigerator, so it wasn't frozen in any way. I also do not recommend thawing this in the microwave or anything, defrosting it in the microwave, because it does change the texture and the flavor of the meat. Okay, so you can hear it sizzling. Everything's brown, and I am now going to start adding the rest of the ingredients. We are going to add 2 cans of organic tomato sauce that we get at Costco. And after I add the actual sauce, I'm going to go over and fill each can with some filtered water. Okay, and this is about all of the liquid that I'm going to add until we get everything mixed together. So between every addition, I like to stir it all together. Right now we don't have any beans in there, and we don't have any green chilies. I'm going to smell it. The color looks pretty good here, so but I know better. I'm going to throw just the tiniest bit more chili powder in this, guys. If you buy those little things at the store, you might as well just plan on using the whole one for this recipe, because that's about how much you're going to use. I'm talking about, like, this little McCormick size here that you get, in the spice rack or spice aisle. If you've never used these spices and you don't want to invest it, or you don't have like $8, to buy all these different spices, if you go to either Sprouts or Winco, they have a lot of bulk spices and they're very good about keeping things clean. I'm going to throw a little bit more garlic salt in there too. I'm not smelling that very much. I probably don't even use 2 full teaspoons of garlic salt in this recipe. Anyway, you can get as much as you want to use, and that way if you like the flavor and you don't have a bunch of spices sitting around that you may never use up. So consider that if you don't have a robust spice cabinet. Okay, I think I've got my spices perfect. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put in a can of Muir Glen. It is important to me to use the Muir Glen brand. I've gotten this at high-end markets. They have it at Sprouts. They have it at...
And fire roasted.
And they're fire roasted. Thank you. You want to get Muir Glen organic diced fire roasted tomatoes for this if you're buying store products. It just is a game changer, and you will not regret it. Some people have them on sale at times, like, maybe 3 cans for $5. And if you find that, snag them. It's good in a lot of things. You can also make a really quick salsa with that in the middle of the winter. Okay, now we're going to put in another can. This is a 7-ounce can of Ortega diced green chilies, and these are the mild ones. Now you could leave these out altogether if you have a sensitive tummy. That's why I put the apron on right there. Did you see that splash? If you don't like them, don't put them in. But again, everything I'm putting in here is another layer of flavor, and this chili is flavorful, and but it's not spicy like where it's painful. Okay. This is the part that may freak some of you out. We have 3 cans of dark red kidney beans. We have 1 can of black beans, and none of these are spiced or flavored or anything like that because we spice our own food. And then we also have 1 can of pinto beans. We did use some low sodium products because why not, right? You don't need that much salt. So if you can see this is a delicious thick chili. If you wanted to, you could also throw in some beef base if you wanted some more beefy flavor to it. And I'm looking at this and I know I'm going to turn it up in a few minutes. So I am going to add another probably half a cup of water to half a can of water, maybe 2. Okay, I just added 1 can and I'm thinking that's going to be good enough here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this up and get it just to boiling, and then I'm going to turn it down to simmer. I'm going to put a lid on it, and I'm going to check it every probably 5 minutes and stir it until it settles into a gentle simmer. And this is going to simmer for approximately 1.5 hours to 2 hours. So it's going to be a little bit of a late dinner for us tonight, but it's a work day, so that's totally cool. This is also preparing meals for the future that are going to be a lot faster. A couple of things that I would really like to talk to you about here while I have your attention is that last year we roasted and canned tomatoes for the first time. We'll be doing that this summer, and you're going to love it. But we used fresh tomatoes, and we're going to be canning our own beans, which will have almost no salt, and all of these things are going to be coming up. So if you're a canner, wait till this summer. You're really going to enjoy it. If you haven't canned yet, you might be inspired to try. But at any rate, this chili recipe has been just tried and true for years and years. So I'm going to go ahead and turn my stove up, get it boiling, and then we're going to come back when I get ready to just lower the temperature and put the lid on so that you can see what it looks like when it's time to lower the temp. This could easily be cooked in an Instant Pot and probably cut the time in by down to about a quarter of the time. If you're interested in having us cook this from start to finish in the Instant Pot so that you can see how it works and see how quick it is, please comment below and let me know, and we'd be happy to make it that way to show you. We're about 10 minutes into after we assembled everything and turned the heat up to just under the high mark. And I just want you to see that we're starting to bubble up a little bit. It's not quite ready to turn down, but it's important to see that we're actually getting pretty close. I'm going to give it one more stir, and I'm sticking right around here in case it goes crazy. I'm also wiping up spills because it's get a little splattery at first. But I wanted you to see that this is about halfway ready to turn down, get to a simmer, and cover for a while. Okie dokie. So I've got a little bit of a rolling boil here, and this is right where I want to have it before we end up turning it down to a simmer. It's going to thicken up, so it's pretty thin right now. You know what? I'm going to pull up a little spoon so I can just kind of show you, because you'll see the difference later. It has a lot of stuff in it, but the consistency is very, very thin, like a soup right now. When we go to get ready to eat it, we're actually going to lift the lid off after it has simmered for a while, and it'll thicken up a little bit, and it's just delicious. If you need to add a little bit more water while it's cooking, add a little more water. But at this point, it is time to simmer. I'm going to turn my particular stove down to about 3.5, and that's going to keep it right at about the level that you see right here, barely bubbling up, but we don't want it to dry out or anything. Please make sure that you come in and you check it periodically, and make sure that when you stir it from the bottom. That's why I like to use these wooden and bamboo utensils, okay? Even though you can use metal, it's just a little more gentle on your hands. And there we go. So it's just going to kind of gently boil now, or sorry, simmer. And I'm going to put a lid on top and let it go for a little while. We'll see you in a bit. Just wanted to show you we're about 25 minutes into simmering, and that's what you want it to look like. Okay, so we'll be back in a little bit. Really, when the onions are softer, that's when it's going to be ready to eat. I'm actually thinking about another 20 to 25 minutes, and this chili will be ready to enjoy. Alrighty, so we are looking really, really good here. So I am going to go ahead and dish us up. So when we come back, you'll get to see it all nice and yummy in the bowls. Well, look at that, would ya? Just going to go ahead and ladle this into the bowls. And we're going to let it cool down for a few minutes. This is such good chili. And again, you can doctor this up any way you want. Leave out what you don't want, add what you would like to see in it. And I will tell you, I'm just going to take this like this. I'll tell you what, if you don't like meat, you can just saute your onions. Or if you like to have ground turkey and ground chicken, by all means, do that. Have the ground chicken and ground turkey instead. So we are going to do a little bit of sprinkling here. And put a little cheese on this one for JJ. A little cheese here for me. We decided against the sour cream, everybody. Okay, well, we couldn't resist. JJ really wanted to have a little dollop of sour cream, so thank you so much for joining us to enjoy our family recipe of chili. Be a little creative. Try this one exactly as it is. I think you're going to love it. But above all, thanks a lot for visiting us here at Big Valley Living. And please be sure to subscribe, like, and share with everyone you know. And if you'd like to see more videos like this, be sure to hit that bell so that you are first on the list to be notified. Have a super night, everybody. See you later.